My sister believed mom's shocking lie, now she's cut off, mom's drunken rampage, got her arrested, and I'm left to pick up the pieces. Quick backstory, my 34F parents had me pretty young and we struggled a lot growing up. Dad was away a lot for work and my mom started drinking and she was pretty abusive. I was pretty much on my own for most of my life until I was 14 when my mom gave birth to my sister, now 20F, I'll call her Pam. Mom's drinking got worse and dad was never around much because of work. He did a lot of construction jobs all over the state. I pretty much took care of my sister from the moment mom brought her home from the hospital. I spent all of my teen years and many of my college years taking care of her. When I was 21 my dad got into a pretty nasty accident at work, the job site's fault, and he had to go on disability and mom's drinking slowed down with him home every day and I finally felt comfortable to move out. Until then though I did everything for Pam, not to mention most of the cleaning and cooking for the household because mom was often too drunk. From diaper changing to homework help, I pretty much raised her. And honestly, by the time I left, I realized I was never going to want to have kids. We're still close, we talk on the phone every few days, sometimes every day. She doesn't really like that I'm married now and moved 2 towns over. But we still see each other every week. I've always felt very maternal towards her. But I want to reiterate, she is not my child. Because the fight was about that. A couple days ago she called me and was already crying when I answered the phone. I was really concerned and I asked her what happened. I thought maybe she got dumped or something. She starts talking about betrayal and how could I do that to her and all that stuff and I finally get her to calm down. That's when she comes out and says she knows that I'm actually her mom and that I just didn't want her and that's why our mom raised her as my sibling. I kinda laughed because, what in the VC Andrew's right? But she was serious and she started crying again and finally I yelled I'm not your mom, I'm just your sister. Or something like that. And she screamed at me that I was a failure of a parent and hung up on me. I called her back but she won't answer. I'm now NC with my mother because of the early childhood abuse/parentification. And my dad passed away 2 years ago so I can't just call him up and ask him to talk to Pam and find out what's going on. I did call my aunt, mom's sister, but she's never been that close to the family and the last time she talked to Pam or my mom was last Christmas. Maybe I handled this all wrong? I shouldn't have laughed, I was just surprised. And the more she started telling me I was a bad parent, even though I'm not and yet I still raised her, I got more and more upset. My husband said my reaction was normal but my best friend said I could have been nicer. So, Ada, edit. Quick update. After dinner I sat down and read your replies. Thank you. I thought about what you all said and that my sister might be going through a rough time so I tried calling her again to apologize. Even if I wasn't entirely wrong, I know she's under pressure right now with school and work and whatnot. She didn't answer the phone so I tried using my husband's cell and she picked up. I think she was screening her calls. Anyway, she didn't let me talk much. I told her again I wasn't her mom but she doesn't believe me. The person who said my mom might have had something to do with this was right. Mom evidently told her my big family secret and that she was my kid. That's all I got out of her before she yelled at me and hung up. She's really upset and I don't want to push her right now so I'm going to give her a couple of days. I don't have access to birth certificates or anything but I'll eventually stop by with some pictures of me from those years and mom who is obviously pregnant in them and offer to do a DNA test. I don't know if that can be done but maybe, hopefully that will be the end of this. There weren't a ton of comments but those of you who did comment I thought you might want an update. And if not, at least I can rant about everything. First, my sister has completely calmed down. Her best friend Sarah took her out last night to watch a movie and get some dinner and just unwind. And while they were hanging out, Sarah talked to her about everything. Mostly pointing out that she had seen photos of our mom pregnant and me in the photo. Obviously she wasn't pregnant with me in those photos so she had to be pregnant with Pam. So about midnight last night Pam called and apologized and we talked for a while and had a good cry and I thought everything was settled. I put it down to the fact that she's working part-time and taking summer classes, which are intense. This morning she called to see if I wanted to grab lunch and she sounded kind of down but I didn't think anything of it. We went to IHOP and everything was normal again until she broke down crying towards the end of our meal. When I got her calmed down, a lot of people were nosy Nellies and watching us the entire time. She apologized several times about the thinking on her mom thing and started talking about what led up to it. I guess mom is drinking heavier again. But more than that, she's pressuring Pam for money because she's disabled and can't work. And because Pam was giving her money constantly, she got behind in her own bills, which thankfully isn't much but is enough to stress her out. Which led her to doing worse in school, and it cascaded. Then a week or so ago, when Pam finally told Mom she could no longer handle giving her money and paying rent on her room, Mom laid into her and said that Pam should be grateful that she and Mom took care of her when I abandoned Pam to go to college. Which, no, I did not. I only moved out into an apartment nearby, and I was 21, and I came over almost every night to spend time with Pam. I didn't move farther away until after I was married, and by that point Pam was a teenager. Anyway, she told Pam that she didn't have to take care of her because I was Pam's real mother, and that because she was such a good person she raised my baby, and so Pam should pay her for that. And even if any of that was true, which obviously it's not, I should be the one paying for that, not Pam. But Mom knows that I won't deal with her anymore, with the whole NC thing, and Pam is still talking to her. So I've now convinced Pam it's a good idea to go NC with Mom, and if she needs anything, to call me or my husband. No matter what time of day, I okayed it with him. I also offered to pay for a few sessions of therapy. I can afford a couple of months for her at least, and I'm still trying to find a good children of AA group near us that we can go to, hopefully closer to her than to me, so that she make friends with other people who grew up in our situation. Hopefully that is the end of all of this. I don't know when I can get Pam into therapy, hopefully not too far out, but that is our biggest concern. That and staying NC with Mom. Thanks again for all the helpful advice, especially about calling her friends, which was you/Don Shacker, thank you for that. It was exactly what was needed. My mother has a drinking problem, my dad has passed away, and a while ago I went NC with Mom for my own sanity. My baby sister, Pam, on the other hand, didn't, which led to a really weird situation. A couple weeks ago Pam and I had a fight because she accused me of being her real, biological, mother. There was a lot of parentification going on when I was a teenager and I pretty much raised her, but I was not her actual mother. However, our mother had decided to tell Pam that I had been a teen mother, abandoned her when I went off to college, and Pam should be grateful that Mom raised her. What led to Mom revealing that family secret was because Pam had been sending Mom pretty much all of her money, which there went a lot of in the first place. Pam's a student, she works part-time, and while she doesn't have a ton of bills, she roommates with several other girls. It put a strain on her and she tried to cut Mom off, so Mom told her that story to guilt her into sending her more money. And then Pam, finding out what she thought was a huge betrayal, confronted me. The good news is we worked it all out with the help of her best friend Sarah, and now Pam is doing better and she's starting therapy soon. Her campus program was kind of crap, so I signed her up with a private provider, but it takes a few weeks, and she's gone NC with Mom. But none of that has stopped Mom from harassing her. First it started with Mom calling constantly, but Pam was firm and held her boundaries and told her that until she's gotten help for her drinking she's not taking her calls. The calls amped up, calling almost every hour, so Pam blocked her number. Then Mom started using other phones, like our neighbors, her friends, etc. She's never been much for social media, so Mom had her BFF, a friend from back when she used to work, start messaging Pam on Facebook. So Pam blocked more numbers and just uninstalled FB. She's more of a TikTok kind of person anyway. Then Mom showed up to the house when Pam rents her room. Pam wasn't there, thankfully, but Mom was so awful to the roommates that they threatened to call the police. And now they want Pam to move out. Which, to an extent, I understand. They're all friendly, but they aren't friends. And this is added drama that none of them signed up for. My drunk mother showing up and showing her ass would put off the most patient person. Pam thankfully has a rental agreement so they can't kick her out right away, but it's more stress. I am thinking of breaking my NC rule just to tell Mom to back off. She's not doing anything really illegal. It's harassment, sure, but it's not to the extent the police will get involved. She's not violent. She's not threatening anything. She's just doing her get drunk and make everyone miserable shtick she's been doing since I was a kid. I told Pam to tell the girls to call the police if Mom shows up again. But the best case scenario is a drunk and disorderly, which Mom has gotten before and spent a whole 4 days in jail for. And that was just because it happened on a Friday night and there was no way to see the judge to set bail until Monday. I don't know. I think I'm just ranting. I don't hate my mom. But I hate what she's doing to my sister. I think if she got clean she might do better. But she's drinking to cover up a lot of emotional problems that she doesn't want to deal with. That she's never wanted to deal with. Instead, she made them my problems. And then when I stopped letting her, she made them Pam's problems. I don't want my sister to go through that. I may not have actually given birth to her. But she's the closet thing I'm ever going to get to having a kid, and this has been just fucking awful. A couple of weeks ago I wrote a post because my mom was harassing my sister Pam. This was because my sister finally cut off my mom and refused to give her money. So quick TL. Doctor is my mom told Pam a gigantic and stupid, easily debunked, lie to guilt Pam into sending her money. The lie caused a bit of drama with me and my sister, but we worked it out because again, it was a very stupid lie. After the truth came out, Pam finally went NC with mom. Just like I had done a while ago. Mom started harassing Pam. And even after Pam had blocked her number, mom would find ways to contact her. She even showed up at the house Pam shares with her roommates. The police were absolutely useless and told Pam and then myself that there was nothing they could do until mom threatened violence or became violent. The officer I talked to on the phone actually laughed when I mentioned getting a TRO. It was just a fucking nightmare. So I took some advice from here and got Pam to change her number and things kind of quieted down. That's when mom started leaving letters in Pam's mailbox. Just drunken ramblings, and so we called the police again. Specifically after the third one. The officer they sent out was incredibly rude and told my sister, and I fucking quote, "If I had a daughter like you, I'd also be driven to drink." Before anyone asks, yes, we put in a complaint. No, nothing happened. After that, my husband and I sat down, worked out some bills, and contacted a lawyer. We don't know any personally, but I did have a coworker who got divorced last year, so I asked him for the number to the family law practice he hired. $150-ish later, I was able to send mom an official quit your shit letter. And for the past 3 days, everything has been blissfully quiet. Then earlier tonight, which I guess technically is this morning, Sarah, my sister's best friend, called because Pam was too shaken up to talk. The police were at Sarah's house and my mom had been arrested. My husband and I hurried over, and by the time we got there the police had already left with mom. Pam was still crying and having a panic attack. Sarah and Heather were trying to calm her down. I'm just so fucking angry thinking about it. The last time I saw Pam crying like that was when she had found out she was failing biology in 9th grade. She's a perfectionist, you know? I love her to death, but she's so scared of failing. I had come over and she was just sobbing over a stack of papers and miserable, and I don't know. I told myself she'd never cry again like that. But she did, and it was because of our mom, and I didn't stop it. Because Pam was too upset to talk. Sarah told us that they had been getting ready to go out for a late movie when my mom showed up. At first Pam told her to just go home. Then mom started screaming at her and Pam sort of froze, and that's when Heather got involved and told my mom that she was going to call the police if she didn't leave. That seemed to work at first, and from what Sarah said, mom kind of just wandered off down the street. Pam was shaken up, but it seemed to be over then they heard a loud crunching sort of noise from outside and they looked and mom had driven over the neighbor's mailbox. Which, to be honest, I didn't notice when I pulled up, but it was flattened. Heather immediately called the police, but I guess so had the neighbors. Then Sarah called us. The police came. Mom refused to do a sobriety test and they hauled her off. The worst part is, I'm not entirely sure they would have actually arrested her if the neighbors hadn't called too. It's kind of a quiet neighborhood and the people directly next door seem to be in their 50s or so. Sarah said the husband came out to put in the complaint about the mailbox and the police talked to them more than they talked to Pam, who was actually getting harassed. Because Pam was so shaken up, we brought her home with us. She thankfully passed out almost immediately and then my husband fell asleep, but I can't sleep. I'm so angry. Mom could have hurt someone and the police have done absolutely nothing up to this point. I'm sure we'll have more options now that she's been arrested. Maybe we can even get a restraining order, but if they had just listened to me weeks ago when mom first started harassing Pam, none of this might have happened tonight. Fuck her. Edited to add, because I forgot to mention, I live about an hour away from my sister. When Sarah called I had fallen asleep on the couch while my husband Ryan was playing video games. So by the time I got up, got dressed and drove over, nearly 2 hours had passed. Was pretty busy this weekend and didn't get to respond to any comments, so I thought I would respond to all of them and give a quick update. Contact the postal service about the letters, I have tried. The girl at the local office had no idea what I was talking about, but she sounded kind of young. I think I'll try calling back tomorrow and see if I get someone else. But, thank you for the idea. Googling did not get me anywhere. The complaints page, kinda sucks. A lot of information on fraud, less on harassing people. Get a doorbell cam. We have one. Or rather, the house that my sister was staying in had one. We have tons of footage of mom being drunk and belligerent, but again, not actually threatening, so the police shrug and say, oh well, she's not there right now, is she? Actual quote. Contact city council about the police issue that is on our total list after we get things settled down. That will probably be several months out though. To the attorney who said contact the DA, I have told Pam to do this. Because I'm not the one seeking out the restraining order, I have a feeling it would be more impactful if Pam did it. However, I have told Pam that I will go with her to talk to the DA. Right now I think she's still overwhelmed and just wants to settle in. Which leads me to our update. Pam has moved in with my husband and I. The moment my husband woke up after that awful night, he brought it up to me. Which is why I love him. I wanted to bring it up to him. But we only have one small extra room and we've been using it as an office/game room for his board games. So I was afraid that he'd feel cramped. We brought it up to Pam and she seemed relieved. Her roommates are really nice girls. But again, they didn't sign up for this, and I think we can all tell they're tired of mom's shit. So Sunday, we moved her important stuff over and she's going to be staying here. Her bed and bigger things are still at the house. But she doesn't have to move it until September when her lease ends. She's having to sleep on a crappy pull-out couch. But I think she feels safer at the very least. Granted, she's upset because she had to quit her job. But I told her she can help around the house and will take care of her rent at the other house. I wouldn't have even brought up the helping around the house, but she heard me tell Ryan I'm going to have to put in a few more hours to cover the rent next month, and she started spiraling about being a burden. Which she is not. I'd work 80 hours a week if she's safe and happy. I don't care. As for mom, Judge saw her this morning and bail was set. I think she's already paid and is waiting to get out. But I don't know for sure. Everything I hear about it is secondhand through friends of friends. I think our godmother bailed her out because I got a nasty email from her about letting mom sit in jail. I'm not even entirely sure what she's been charged with. Honestly, I don't care. As long as she leaves us alone, I don't care. So that's it. Not very exciting. But that's actually a good thing. Sarah has been here almost every day to check on Pam. She brought her muffins this morning and it was good to see Pam smile. This has been so stressful for her. Hopefully in the next few weeks things will completely calm down and she'll get some much needed rest.